The Nokia 5.4 is effectively a mid-range smartphone priced at 699 dirhams here in the UAE. When you pick it up, the sacrifices it makes in build quality aren't as obvious. In fact, it does a decent job at weight distribution and concealing its thickness, 181 grams and 8.7 millimeters respectively. But as you use the phone a bit more, you start to notice its kinks. For instance, the scratches on the back thanks to no Gorilla Glass protection, the cheap feeling frame, or the mushy buttons. Speaking of the buttons, you do have a dedicated Google Assistant button on the Nokia 5.4, which for those who use it could be very helpful, but personally, I wish the button could be remapped for any other task. Nokia has done a great job of positioning the buttons though, so everything feels very reachable with one hand, and the 3-in-1 hybrid SIM tray is a great move, as is the 3.5mm headphone jack. My favorite feature on the Nokia 5.4 is all about the FM radio support with the 3.5mm jack, which you can use without any sort of data or internet access. But let's get into the display now. It's a 6.39-inch panel IPS LCD, which means the fingerprint scanner automatically moves to the back of the phone and is really comfortably placed. We like the position of the scanner, but it's a bit on the slower side, especially if you don't wake up the phone prior to using it. But back to the screen, it's a flat panel with only an HD plus resolution. Personally, the resolution just isn't enough. Some may argue it's enough for the basics, but we think a full HD plus or 1080p panel is almost a necessity in 2021. Finer text on the Nokia 5.4 starts to look blurry, and multimedia is just not up there. Contrast is poor, and so are the viewing angles of the display, and the mono speaker doesn't really do justice to the audio. So if you're in a position to use this phone and have to listen to audio, whether that's multimedia consumption or music, we would recommend you use a pair of headphones. From a performance perspective though, the Nokia 5.4 is a mixed bag. On one hand, you get a clean Android 10 experience with minimal bloatware. This is particularly useful given there's only 64GB of onboard storage on this thing. Of course, this is expandable via microSD, and with 4GB of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 662 processor, you'll be able to do a bit of multitasking, but that's about it. Browsing feeds, replying to emails, and playing a light game should all be possible simultaneously, but don't expect this thing to be running PUBG or any high-end games smoothly. Plus, the display is only a 60Hz panel, so the experience is going to be less than ideal. With the clean software we talked about, the Nokia 5.4 is guaranteed for monthly updates up to 3 years. So not only will you see security patches, but you'll also see major updates to Android 11 and the next generation of Android. So that promise and Nokia's support is one big factor that makes the Android One experience on the Nokia 5.4 stand out. This does mean limited added value features, for instance no native screen recorders or video editing software built into the phone, but one feature we did like, which was being able to navigate using the fingerprint scanner to access your notification shade, but that's about it. Now, a big standout for any Nokia phone in the past couple of years is its Nordic design, and this one's got it all. Looking at the rear of the phone though, you do find its camera setup, which is a big part of the design. There's a 48 megapixel wide lens accompanied by a 5 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. We think for 90% of the time you'll have to rely on the primary lens of the phone, which does a decent job in mixed lighting conditions. But switching to the ultra wide, you definitely notice a drop in quality, sharpness, and color balance, of course, with the advantage of getting more in one frame. The switch also seems to be very slow, which is something we haven't really noticed in smartphones at this budget. So do keep that in mind if you want to quickly switch between the wide and ultra wide angle lens at any point in time. The 2 megapixel macro camera is just there to make up the numbers in our opinion, with decent macro images but nothing groundbreaking, while the 2 megapixel depth sensor is useful, as you can see from this portrait sample at night, but inconsistencies are part of the depth sensor, so it's not always great at all times. The night mode on the Nokia 5.4 tends to over-sharpen images, whereas the video option, while it's good to have, it lacks any optical image stabilization, so if you want to get any serious video work done, I don't think this is the smartphone to use. Topping off the camera experience on the Nokia 5.4, you do find a 16 megapixel front shooter on this thing, which does the job for your selfies, but if you're going to be taking a lot of portraits, that hint of over-processing and sharpening is definitely going to make its way into your selfies. That being said, the combination of the Nokia 5.4's processing power and display resolution makes the 4000 mAh battery on the phone seem like a lot. You'll easily be getting up to 1 or 2 days of usage with impeccable standby times as well. The only complaint for us in this regard is with charging speeds, where these are limited to 10 watts on the Nokia 5.4, while other competition is opting for higher speeds at this price tag. All in all, the Nokia 5.4 is seriously a mixed bag. On the one hand, you get the clean Android One experience that everyone craves, a capable 48 megapixel primary camera, and some great battery backup as well. But on the other hand, the phone's display and performance doesn't quite match up to what a first choice 2021 smartphone should bring. Let us know what you think about the Nokia 5.4 down in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. This was Vaibhav, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios!